So the first thing on the agenda is to welcome you, and I do welcome you all. And I forgot to say who I was at the start, but I think most of you know me now. I'm Deb Fisher, I'm the chair. And here we've got Maggie Parsons, who's our secretary, and Devon Allison, who's our treasurer. Maggie, we've got some apologies for absence. Some of them may be on the Zoom, but...
Yeah, I've got Iona Roberts, Tom Sopko, Kathy Ackley, Mary Beth Pannerton, Miriam Margulies, Mary Lucille Hindmarsh, Christopher Nankyville, Shirley Dex, and Sue McCulloch.
Right. Yeah, Sue McCulloch was supposed to be coming, but was ill yesterday. Do anybody know of any more? No, okay. So we'll move on. You've all had a copy of the minutes, and I hope you've had some time to look at them. The 2020 AGM was a bit of a makeshift affair, but if anybody's got any corrections to that, could they please tell me now? Yes, Anna. Yeah. Well, yes. I'm so short. I'm always afraid people won't see me if I stand up. If I don't stand up, because I've so many times people have said, "Stand up, Deb." She is standing up. Okay. Right. So has anybody got any corrections to the minutes from last year? I know that a lot of you won't have been. There were a lot of people attended it on Zoom, but you might not have been on it. So we need to be sure that it's a correct record of what happened last year. Got someone in Rhode Island there who says they're delighted to have got up early to have joined our It's wonderful. That's wonderful. Right. Okay. So matters arising from the minutes. Now, does anyone have any matters arising that aren't likely to be covered in any of the other sections, any of the other agenda points? No. Good. Excellent. Right. So we move on to the chair's report, for which I will stand up at the microphone there. There is a sort of stool in there, but I once went into a pub with Yvonne Cocking. She climbed onto a high bar stool to speak to the gentleman behind the bar. And then when we turned around to go to our table, she sort of fell off the stool into the arms of two gentlemen. And as we walked away, I heard one of them say to the other, "I thought I was in there." I hope Yvonne's not watching this. She's probably in the car on her way down. Hi, Rita. So I feel like I should begin with an apology, because I really look forward to welcoming you all to the kind of Barbara Pym Society conference that you're used to. And I wanted us to enjoy a weekend that was as much like old times as possible. And the extent to which we've been able to achieve that has inevitably been limited. In particular, some of you may have felt a little dissatisfied with this year's booking process. And in a little while, I'll explain why that hasn't quite worked as we would have wanted it to. But first, I want to welcome you all, and particularly those new members who are here. I know there are quite a few, and membership numbers have increased since the last conference, largely because of the new biography, which has aroused a lot of interest. I hope you'll all enjoy this weekend, whilst recognising that things aren't quite as normal and there may be some little glitches. So please don't judge us on the things we do wrong this year, because there may be a reason for them. On the other hand, if you feel something is terribly wrong and needs urgent attention, do let me know, but not right this minute. So this time last year, even though we were online and things were already a bit strange, I reported on how pleased I was at the progress the Barbara Pym Society had made in formalising our links with St Hilda's. We'd set the society on a course that we felt would be much easier to maintain in the future. Then the changes at the college began to impact on us, and we found that some of the things we felt we had achieved were difficult to implement, and shall we say. And then the two reasons for this, one of which is, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. And this has effectively robbed St Hilda's of more than a year's conference income at a time when they could ill afford to lose it. It meant that many staff had to be laid off, and it also meant that the experience for new students coming up last autumn was a bit different from what they might have hoped. As most of you know, Triona Adams, founder member of the Pym Society, who'd been working at St Hilda's as conference coordinator for the past few years, had a pivotal role in maintaining our relationship with the college. Sadly, Triona has left her employment here and her role on the committee. Bronwyn Travers, is Bronwyn still here? No, okay, she's had to go out, but you'll see her again in the course of the weekend. And she's taking over from Triona as the St Hilda's representative on the committee. But Bronwyn's role at the college is different from what Triona's was. So, you know, there are still some little sticking points to be ironed out. Bronwyn's been very eager to tell us that things will be getting back to what they used to be because they've completely reorganized their conference team. Also, a lady called Aisha Solangi is the new conference and external events lead at St Hilda's. And I'm looking forward to getting to know her better and discussing with her the ways in which we can work together to improve things. But for this year, we were unable to obtain our usual support from St Hilda's in the booking process, apart from accommodation bookings, which Sarah Brett kindly took for us. So we were obliged to use Eventbrite, which takes time and effort to administer and costs money to use. They take a surcharge from our conference income in more or less the same way PayPal does, or indeed credit card companies. It's been a great relief to see that this hasn't put many people off, except, of course, for our overseas members. And we're overjoyed to see at least one brave and dedicated individual who's made it across the sea. In fact, Beverly Bell actually flew out of JFK in the middle of the hurricane, and I think that's pretty fantastic. But nevertheless, we're not entirely happy with our experience of Eventbrite, so we hope to be geared up to do things better next year. And at the moment, it's hard to predict exactly what that will be. I'm also sorry to those who are watching us online that we've had to make a charge for viewing the talks online. And it took us quite a while to make the arrangements. But the fact is that St Hilda's have had to take on an IT contractor for the weekend. And of course, this additional cost will be duly passed on to us. I've been talking to Tom in the US about it, and he's been saying that, you know, he's going to have the same issue with the North American conference next year. But as far as I know, this is the first truly hybrid conference that's been held here. And I hold that to be a considerable achievement. So if we have any technical problems, please bear that in mind. Well, we've already had one or two, haven't we? So, yeah, and so, I mean, who would have thought that it would be the St Hilda, the Barbara Pym Society that would be the trailblazers in technology? I mean, Well, the organisational changes at St Hilda's came at the same time as changes to the college buildings and environment. And the new buildings are very attractive and the new accommodation is very comfortable, but the redesign of the site has brought with it other problems. For example, no longer will we be able to offer unlimited parking to conference delegates. There's also been a change of principle. Sir Gordon Duff has already departed, which is why the principal's lodging is looking so empty. But his replacement, Professor Sarah Springman, doesn't arrive until February. So I've got another relationship to build there. You know, we can't and don't blame St Hilda's for the problems, for the unforeseen circumstances of the past 18 months. They've always been very generous towards the society, which after all was co-founded by Eileen Roberts, our friendship host, way back in the 1990s as part of her official college role. And St Hilda's is kindly recognising our fundraising efforts this year by sponsoring the pre-dinner drinks reception this evening. Over the past few years, it's been customary for the committee to put forward a slate of candidates for any committee vacancies. And we planned on doing the same this year. And we've got one volunteer, one person who was volunteered by someone else this morning, and she doesn't know who it was. So we'll have to have a little chat with her afterwards to make sure that she really does want to do it. If there's, I'm sorry, Catherine, but I don't actually know what you look like. Oh, there you are. So does this mean you don't want to be on the committee?
I'm sorry.
No, fine, that's fine, it's fine, that is fine. That is fine, don't worry. I mean, my husband really doesn't mind that the text message from BT woke him up at a lot earlier than his normal getting up time on a Saturday. So that means we will still have a vacancy. And if there is anyone sitting out there, or indeed watching this meeting on Zoom, who's interested in joining the committee, do let us know. We can answer any questions you might have. So if you're one of those excellent women and men who don't like to push themselves forward, just come and talk to us, one of us during one of the breaks. Last year, I also, at the AGM, I laid out some changes to the makeup of the committee, which meant potential changes to our constitution. And the plan was for an amendment to the constitution to be discussed at this year's AGM, thus ratifying last year's decisions, which had to be made in a bit of an emergency. And now we find additional changes being forced upon us, and we'll have to put any constitutional amendment on the back burner until we've got a better idea what the future is going to look like. During the winter, we completed the fundraising that was necessary to furbish a Barbara Pym room in the anniversary building, and this has now been done. Sorry, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee because we don't see that anymore. Yes, so Sally Kurak was the winner of the boat and coat competition, which raised a substantial sum. And the Pym Society had already agreed at the 2019 AGM to match funding up to £3,000, which we duly did. Last year I commented on the irony of how we'd been drawn into the world of technology more quickly than we'd intended as a result of you know what, and how this has emphasised the value of the worldwide aspect of the Pym Society, and how we needed to maintain close links with all of our overseas members. Particularly noteworthy is the way the North American chapter managed to put on an online conference in March this year, which everyone thoroughly enjoyed, even more so knowing that on that occasion it was free to attend. We also managed to hold an online spring meeting excuse me, at which Nick Turner gave us a really fascinating talk about some of the parallels between Barbara Pym and Elizabeth von Arnim. If you didn't see this at the time, it's still available on our YouTube channel. Is that Paul getting me? Did Paul go out to get me a glass of water? I do hope so. I think Paul has gone to give me some water, hopefully. Right. Oh, brilliant. Even better. That's great. Thank you very much, Jamie. Yes, by the way, this is Jamie, our IT support. He does stand out a bit from the usual PIM demographic. And he's going to come and have his lunch and dinner with us today, which will be nice. Get to know him a bit. So I return to the subject of the major event of the year, the launch of the new biography of Barbara Pym, written by Paula Byrne and published by HarperCollins. And Paula is, but don't worry, a spare is always handy. When I saw you coming in with the cup of coffee, with what appeared to be a cup of coffee, I thought, right, I've already gone to get me a glass of water. Right. Paula Byrne, who hopefully is somewhere close to this side of the Atlantic as we speak, has been very ready to acknowledge the support given her by the Barbara Pym Society in writing the book, of which copies will be on sale out in the foyer later on today. She's given us a good deal of her time in the shape of interviews, and she even interrupted her Boxing Day activities to make the live draw for the Bowden coat. So we're very much hoping she's going to get here on time to talk to us and sign copies of the book. Right, I'm coming near the end. So to the best of my knowledge, no members have passed away in the course of the year, but I would just mention, in case people didn't read it in the news, that Linda McDougall, one of our most active members, recently lost her husband, Austin Mitchell, the former MP. And I know some of you, if you didn't know, will probably want to send her your condolences. Members have been keeping in touch with us through Zoom, Facebook, email, and of course by phone and post. And once or twice, I even managed to see members in person. Barbara Pym's novels continue to be recommended in the media as ideal lockdown reading. And that makes me hopeful that the recent TLS review of Paula's biography by Claire Loudon is wrong in suggesting, and I quote, "The humour isn't sharp enough, the writing isn't tight enough to carry these novels on into the future," and that she's also wrong in her comment that appreciation for Pym's early work will not outlast this older fan base. That's us, that is. Devon, have you got that letter handy?
Yes.
Would you like to come up and read it? Devon's had a nice letter from someone, which I think gives a lie to that TLS.
Hello, this was received by me because as treasurer, I sent the check for the checks to the people who were based in the UK who won prizes in the short story competition. So it says, "Dear Devon, thank you for your kind note of last month. Third prize in the short story competition is the highlight of my writing career to date. I have written 1 entire and 2 half-finished novels during lockdown and intend to use my new success as inspiration to complete one of the halves. It is a mostly comic novel about midwives in a fictional maternity ward." If I may, I would like to congratulate you and your peers on running such a fine society. I only discovered the work of Barbara Pym quite recently and am a great fan. Her novels deserve a good society. I wish you and the society all the best, and once again, would like to thank you, yours sincerely. So it's very nice, actually, that the short story competition is encouraging new young writers.
Yeah, the short story competition is, of course, it's organized by the North American chapter of the society, but it's been very successful. It was launched, it's named the Ellen J. Miller Short Story Competition. And, you know, the newer members won't remember Ellen, but she was the North American organizer for very many years. And we'll hear a bit about that tomorrow when we listen to Kathy Ackley's talk. So I just want to end by thanking all the committee for their work during the year and during this conference where everyone is playing a part. I wouldn't normally single anyone out, but I've got to, on this occasion, name three people: Maggie, Lucia, and Lorraine, who's, I don't know where she is, oh, there she is, because the three of them have worked like Trojans during the last 3 months to enable this conference to take place. Because of all the complications. That doesn't mean that the rest of the committee haven't done anything. They've all contributed. And I'd also like to mention Sandra Margulies and Rose Cleo, who provided us with a very enjoyable quiz yesterday evening that I know everybody enjoyed. And neither of them is currently on the committee, so it was above and beyond the call of duty for them. But that's one of our strengths, isn't it? This core of Pym fans who are ready to spread the word about Barbara's books and ensure that the society continues to be a warm and welcoming place for Pym enthusiasts. And long may we be able to meet here at St. Hilda's and enjoy that welcome. Thank you. So now Jeff's going to give us the financial report.
So is this, yes, that's on. I can hear it already. Thank you. I thought this was in the conference pack, that I don't think it is. So I'll just say, in summary, following a year of member loyalty, which was much appreciated, and just a special call out for those of you who had to send checks twice because a big tranche of checks got lost in the post this year. So quite a few people were asked to resubmit checks. So thank you. Following a year of member loyalty and participation in the Society's virtual activity, through the pandemic, the Society's cash on hand has increased by £2,447.95. Funds from membership dues are slightly higher, though, because many 2019 dues were banked in 2020, but it's still a strong position. So cash on hand for the UK Society is £11,365 and £11,365.55. St. Hilda's also holds for us £11,870.68. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. It was quite a simple year, really, because so many of the activities were virtual.
Any questions from anyone? No. No.
That's good. A boring treasurer's report is good.
Well, I'll take that as approval of the minutes, of the accounts, sorry. And we'll go on to the membership report. Lorraine, do you want to come up and?
Right, can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, UK membership currently stands at 212. I'm counting joint members and family memberships as 2. There are currently 8 sets of joint members and 3 families. This compares with 173 this time last year, so that's a considerable increase. As well as that, we have 17 non-UK members from various European and Scandinavian countries, and 26 honorary and life members. That gives us a total of 255. Of the paying members, 193 out of 229 are paid up to date. Non-payers are allowed 1 year's grace before I strike them off. I do have a list of everybody who's here and whether they've paid or not. I know who you are, so if there are any backsliders, I shall be visiting you. I do take cash, by the way. Over the last year, there have been 71 new members. That's including 4 non-UK members. And this, as Deb pointed out earlier, this represents a significant increase over previous years. It is undoubtedly largely a result of the publication of Paula Byrne's new biography. And this can be balanced against 23 members lost over the past year, 20 through non-payment of subscriptions, 2 resigned, and 1 deceased, Deb. We did lose 1 member, David Jago. So we might want to record that somewhere. So that's all I have to say, unless anyone has any questions. Oh, good. Thank you.
Maggie has valiantly agreed to read out the next 2 reports, which are both written by people who are, well, one of them is on the Zoom and the other one can't be here. So would you like to?
I'm going to read out the editor's report from Green Leaves by Jutta Schuller. Another year in lockdown, but with a thriving society such as ours, there was enough to occupy oneself. As usual, I'm always anxious looking at articles on hand or submitted to me for Green Leaves. I fear that there will not be enough for publication, but in the end, I sometimes have to postpone one article or another, as our members are a creative crowd and are never short of ideas for articles or stories. One of them resulted in the publication of Barbara Pym's short story, They Never Write, in last year's autumn's issue. I'm sure our members appreciated this gem. The publication of the spring issue was a new milestone in the history of Green Leaves, as Lloyd Miller in the US took over the responsibility for the design and layout from Judy Horn. Lloyd, Christine and I had thoroughly prepared and discussed the new design, and Christine and I were really pleased with Lloyd's ideas and cooperation. It felt for a while as though the 3 of us were living in our own little Green Leaves bubble. Besides the new layout, we introduced some changes, such as the new designations of spring, summer, and autumn, winter issue. We tried to arrange the contents according to the topics, and on the whole, we wanted to give the newsletter a more relaxed look. We hope you all enjoyed the design of Green Leaves, but comments are of course welcome. One sad piece of news reached us while we were dealing with our usual printers, Oxy Uniprint. In the past, I've been so pleased with their friendliness and their efficiency, but unfortunately they were closing down their business in August this year. Thanks to Deb, we found another printer in Oxford, Joshua Horgan Print and Design. I got in contact with them and they are offering nearly the same conditions. I'm sure they're as cooperative and efficient as their predecessors. We'll find that out pretty soon. Last but not least, I'm really thankful for Christine's assistance and her quick response whenever I have a question or a problem. It's a pleasure to work with her. And this is
Okay, and the North American report from Tom Sopko.
okay. Membership. The North American chapter has 163 paid members as of the 31st of July 2021 and carrying 197 members who paid dues in 2020 but have not yet renewed, for a record high total of 360. This is an increase of 56 from 1 year ago. We've gained 47 new members so far this year. Our membership is distributed as follows: 55% seniors, 31% individuals, 6% senior families, 7% non-senior families, and 5 life members. 27 members live in Canada, 6 are from Australia, and 1 lives in Japan. Finances. Our cash on hand was $24,000. Devin, you have to help me out with this. American.
I was struggling with the pounds.
Yeah.
Where are you?
This
Oh, yeah,
one.
$24,603.
That seems like such a lot of money, doesn't it? As of
It is a lot of money.
As of 31st of July 2021, this is a decrease of $1,196 from 1 year ago, when we had received a one-time $1,137 windfall when the deposit we had paid for the cancelled 2020 North American conference was refunded, but is $1,736 more than we had in July 2019. details are in the Treasurer's report over leaf. Do you want me to read that?
No,
No,
I don't
okay.
think so.
If anyone wants the details, come and see me afterwards. The North American Conference. The 22nd North American Conference, focusing on an unsuitable attachment, was a virtual event held on Saturday, the 20th of March, 2021, featuring the speakers who had prepared talks for the cancelled 2020 conference. The YouTube videos of the talks have all been viewed hundreds of times, reaching a much wider audience than an in-person event. In addition to the talks, the conference featured recordings of the winning entries from the Ellen J. Miller Memorial Short Story Competition and the virtual Pym Players production of An Unsuitable Attachment, abridged and adapted by Dan DiPetro and edited and directed by Fred Stropel. I'm extremely grateful to Deb Fisher and Jordan Back, who provided invaluable organisational and technical support to record the video clips and post them on the Barbara Pym Society YouTube channel. It's impossible at this time to know what sort of event we may be able to hold next March. I will continue to assess the situation and confer with our host venues and hope to announce by early January whether the 2022 North American Conference will be live, virtual or hybrid. The 4th annual Ellen J. Memorial Short Story Competition was once again very capably judged by Kathy Ackley, Isabel Stanley and Denise Morose-Wolf. The top 3 stories were included in the virtual conference in March and were printed in the spring issue of Green Leaves. Short story entries for 2022 must be received by the 1st of December 2021, and the complete rules are posted on the Barbara Pym Society website. While the North American board was largely dormant this year due to lack of any live events, our membership secretary, Judy Horn, and treasurer, Jordan Back, have continued to carry out their arduous and thankless tasks in a highly capable manner. I'm also extremely grateful to Lloyd Miller and Tom Croft for taking charge of printing and mailing more than 300 copies of Green Leaves to members in the United States, Canada, Australia, and Japan. Respectfully submitted, Tom Sopko, the North American organiser.
Right. Any questions on either of those 2 reports? Okay. So we come to this exciting moment, the election of new committee members. Now, there are 2 members who've come to the end of their term. Committee members, well, unless for the posts like mine, it's a 5-year term, but for ordinary committee members, it's 3 years, but you can, with the possibility of re-election for a further 3 years, but then after that, you have to have a 2-year gap before you can return to the committee. So we have 2 people who've come to the end of 6 years on the committee, Christine Shuttleworth and Paul Howard, who's our Pimbola man, and who kindly brought me a cup of water just now. Excuse me. So, yeah, so we need 2 people to replace them, and we have one. So on our slate as a new committee member is Susan Armstrong. Where is she? She's here somewhere. There she is, near the back. And so Sue will be joining the committee. I declare her elected and unopposed. If there's anyone else, as I said earlier, if there's anyone else who's interested, let us know afterwards, because we have the power to co-opt, even if people don't want to put themselves forward in a meeting. So that's sorted, really. Nobody else has come to the end of their term, so we still got, that our committee is myself as chair until 2023. I thought it was going to see, when I took it on, it seemed a long, long way away, but it's creeping up. Maggie, the secretary, Devon, the treasurer, Lorraine is the membership secretary, and Abigail looks after merchandise for us. We've got 2 North American representatives who, when they're here, come to our committee. We've also got Jutta, our newsletter editor, who of course is in Germany and couldn't make it. And we've got Keith, who lives in France and couldn't make it. Have I missed anybody out? Is there anybody down there that I've missed out? Lucia. how could I forget Lucia, who's going to be one of our speakers this afternoon? And if I have left anybody out, I'm sorry. Well, Bronwyn, yes, Bronwyn is ex officio, and I forgot Eileen, who is our friendship host, and I forgot Yvonne, who is our archivist, who will be here later today. So that's just a brief explanation. So now we'll come on to any other business. We haven't been notified of any other business, but is there anyone who would like to raise anything?
Could I propose a vote of thanks to Christine and Paul for their 6 years of
You certainly
committee
can.
work?
You certainly can, and I would second that, definitely. I think we anything else from anyone?
Can I say, as members of the Pym Society, you're all part of the Alliance of Literary Societies, and every year there's an AGM which is held by one member society. This year's AGM is not taking place in person, but it is going to be online, and it's around the two poets, Anthony Hopkins and John Betjeman. Gerald Manley Hopkins and John, sorry, I've written this down, and John Betjeman. Sorry about that. But it's on the 3rd of October. So if you look on the website, the details of registering for that will be there. And I think Lorraine, you sent them around anyway. Is that right? Right. Okay. So it's just a plug for that. It's usually very good, and the speakers are going to be great. And the other thing regarding the Alliance of Literary Societies is that they are hoping that every member society will have a quote that is sort of that people feel it sums up. We can't sum somebody up in a quote, but they're looking for appropriate quotes. So if anybody has a quote that they particularly like this weekend, if you want to pass it on to me, I'll take a note of them, and we'll have a look and see, make a decision perhaps in the committee which one we'd like to use. But please feel free to come up to me and I'll write them down and make a note who's made them. So please do that. Thank you. Right. Oh, and we should mention the Barbara and the Bodleian as well.
Oh gosh, yes, I nearly forgot that. Yes, Abigail is taking, Barbara in the Bodleian sold out, and Yvonne's very keen for us to do a reprint, but we want to do it in an economical way. So if anybody is interested in buying a copy, we can't say the exact price, but let's say £10, because that's what it originally cost. If you would like to give your name to Abigail or Maggie, because we're keeping an ongoing list, so that we know how many, we've got an idea of how many to print. If anybody's unfamiliar with Barbara in the Bodleian, it's the account of Yvonne Cocking's research in the Bodleian into, the Barbara Pym archive there. And a lot of it consists of things that Yvonne researched for the purposes of the conference. So some of them are talks that she gave, and it's amazingly good read, when you consider that it's what's in the archive. It's an amazingly good read when you read it all in one go. And of course, a lot of the material for Paula Byrne's biography came out of that archive as well. So you see some perhaps more in depth in some areas than the biography.
And we put a copy, I bought my copy, which is a display copy only, so it's on the merchandise table. So if you want to have a look at it before you put your name down to get one, there's a copy on the merchandise table.
Right. I did. Oh, did I say that? No, I don't think I did. I certainly had it written down to say, but I don't know if I did say that the merchandise will, Abby has to leave early tomorrow, so the merchandise will only be available until tomorrow lunchtime. Okay. Any other business? Okay. I think we will have a short comfort break to enable our first speaker to, prepare. And then, so be back, if you're going outside to use the ladies or men's or anything, if you be back by, well, let's say 25 past, 27 minutes past, something like that, a couple of minutes before past.